Hey there, welcome to the Daily Space Weather. We've got some activity rising in the northeast. We've got a cavernous coronal hole showing up in the center of the solar disk, just north of the solar equator. We've got composite imagery. We've got things clearing up in Florida and lots more to cover with you today here at the Smash News Network, least busted name in news. By the way, congratulations on realizing the channel exists despite the pathetic censorship on big tech platforms. Sunspot activity here kind of chill. There is a CME impact forecasted by NOAA. We'll get to it. First, your colorized magnetogram. That's yesterday plus today from SDO. And also some interesting seismic activity happening, so lots of stuff going on. Take a moment to press like and subscribe if you enjoy the content. Make sure you visit our playlists for all kinds of videos besides space weather, product reviews, terms defined, the diamond anvil, too hard to smash, and more. Thanks to our longtime viewers, we've been making the most detailed space weather videos in the world for over 5 years. Pick up some merch if you'd like to support the channel that way. Give Smash staff a raise. Today's featured product is, and these are, by the way, listed in order of best selling. Yes, they contain words that shall not be mentioned. Today's featured product, do not pole vault the caldera. If you're going through hell, keep going. Because as bad as things might seem, folks, I guarantee you they can get worse. Just kidding, folks. Our finest days lie ahead. And yes, things can get worse, especially if more terrible decisions are made by people in positions of power who don't belong there. Yes, a lot of irresponsible decisions being made in the past, well, pushing 3 years now. Don't support the depopulation agenda and try to pole vault the caldera. We find it unhealthful. If you're visiting an active volcano, leave your vault pole at home and pick up some merch. Tell your friends and foes about the channel. Support us via some physical objects if you're willing and able. You can also support us by clicking our links like smashomash.com, our homepage, and welcome to the Neo-Renaissance. Once again, congratulations on realizing the channel exists. Pathetic censorship caused us to make our own websites back in 2019. Because in 2018, a crack YouTube unit was sent to social media prison for a crime we didn't commit. We promptly escaped a maximum security social media stockade into the internet underground where we survive as producers of fortune. If you have a problem, if no one else can help, and if you can find the content, maybe you can hire the Smash Team. Thanks to our gold and silver Smash Team members. More on that here in a moment. One of the links you can find on the homepage and below the video is to SureMed. It's not insurance. It's an association membership with the American Better Health Organization. So check that out. All kinds of benefits to that, like doctors by phone, counselors by phone. Are you losing your mind? Well, counselors by phone, virtual veterinarians. They even take care of your pets, folks. Discounts on vision and dental and vitamins and labs and prescription medications and more. So check out the link again below the video and on the homepage at smashomash.com. If you want to support the channel via subscription services, become a member of the Smash Team. Thanks to all of those who have become executive producers of the channel by joining at the Gold or Silver Smash Team level. Our Gold and Silver Smash Team members are increasing the probability these videos will continue to exist, remain publicly visible, and free for all to view. So check it out there at smashomash.com/SmashTeam. And let's get back to the report, because the largest quake of the past 24 was a 6.5, and we'll get to that after we cover volcanoes. So there's Mount Ibu erupting. Sakurajima also erupted. Produced a 9,000-foot plume of volcanic ash, flight level 090, flight level 080 from Suwanosejima as it explodes. And there's Ibu, a 3.8-kilometer volcanic ash plume there spreading to the west from Halmahera, Indonesia. Semeru exploding, flight level 140, 14,000-foot ash plume there. Some lava bombs and other incandescent material blasting out of Popocatépetl down there in central Mexico. One of my bucket list volcanoes. Fuego exploding in Guatemala, flight level 150. It's a 15,000-foot ash plume. 24,000-foot ash plume from Nevado del Ruiz in Colombia. Ecuador featuring 2 exploding volcanoes, Sangay and Revenador, 21,000-foot ash plume from Sangay, flight level 170 from Revenador. Sabancaya exploding also, flight level 240 over Peru. Again, don't pole vault the caldera. Do realize that it's exploding and producing a 24,000-foot ash plume. So seismic activity here kind of high for the past couple of days. Again, largest quake of the past 24 was this 6.5 near the South Sandwich Islands, around the Atlantic Ocean / Southern Ocean boundary, wherever that might lie, but it's in a fairly unpopulated portion of the world. That 6.5 happened at 3:23 this morning on September 29th. Also, we have an earthquake swarm continuing here at the Reykjanes Ridge. Let us know in the comments if you think those are foreshocks. Maybe there's a huge quake about to happen there. I would suspect probably not, but that's a lot of earthquakes around that plate boundary there between the European and North American plates. So let's zoom out here and just scroll up the list. If we've missed anything, let us know in the comments. I think that is the major seismic news. Saipan had a 5.1. And there was a 5.0 in the Caribbean there. Also a 5.5 here, the Northeast Pacific Rise. So one decent-sized quake at the South Sandwich Islands, and many, many quakes, including a 5.0 at the Reykjanes Ridge. There's an aftershock there at the South Sandwich Islands. And let's get back to space. We do show the most detailed imagery you'll find any place on the internet. Here on our daily space weather videos, we realized that there was a niche and that there's a lot of nonsense on YouTube about space weather. So we decided to fill that niche about 5 years ago. So here's the Northern Hemisphere and all eyes on this rising region in the Northeast. It's looking pretty interesting already. It's looking kind of naughty, as they would say. And you can see some material blasting out of there. And let's get to some data here. The radio flux still at 135 solar flux units, so flatlining there at 135. It's been there for a couple of days. That's the 1-year graph of the radio flux represented by this black line. You can find it yourself at solon.info if you don't believe me. And here's this coronal mass ejection forecast. Now, frankly, I don't know what they're talking about. As we've been covering this daily, we look at coronagraphs each day, and I don't know what they're talking about. They think this is an Earth-directed CME happening, but okay, we'll cover it because NOAA is forecasting it. So we'll see what happens there. That's the model run. They're expecting it to hit stereo A more directly than Earth. Here's the explanation. There's going to be a coronal hole high-speed stream showing up late in the day on the 30th, and then sometime during that coronal hole high-speed stream, a CME expected to, quote, pass close enough to Earth to further enhance the geomagnetic field, making G2 moderate storm levels increasingly likely. So October 1st, expected to be a geomagnetically stormy day because of an influence of both a coronal hole high-speed stream and a coronal mass ejection impact. So we'll have to see what happens. Things starting out in October looking pretty active. So next, the last 4 hours of Earth's magnetic moment from space. This is our geospace magnetosphere movie. We show it daily since the data is not viewable in archive format yet. So we at least show 4 hours of the geospace magnetosphere movies each day on the channel. The units shown here are nanopascals. That's magnetohydrodynamic pressure modeled by the Space Weather Modeling Framework. Here's Earth's magnetic moment from the ground for the last 4 hours. The scale here is, the units here rather, are nanotesla. It's ground magnetic perturbations, geospace delta B, changes to Earth's B field. everything's fairly geomagnetically calm here at the moment. I think we're at KP3. And there you go. KP3 is the current planetary K index. Calm conditions. And let's take a look at the real-time solar wind. A little bit of enhancement still continuing here from an unexpected coronal hole high-speed stream. Current conditions about 480 kilometers per second for the solar wind velocity. Solar wind density just over 12 protons per cubic centimeter. GOES magnetometers here flatlined. We're seeing low highs and high lows over the past couple of days. Those measurements by the geosynchronous near equatorial GOES 16 and GOES 17 satellites. And let's zoom out and look at the heliospheric current sheet. So Earth at the moment in a North Pole current sheet. Don't be surprised to see a South Pole current sheet showing up here soon in the next couple of days. You probably heard it here first. South Pole current sheets will show up in this imagery as red. At the moment, Earth solidly in a North Pole current sheet. Here's your line of sight field plot. Sun's B field shown in blue, solar polar fields in red and green. And let's move to coronal holes. What evil lurks in the depths of space weather? Not very much, unless you're viewing space weather through some channel that is also a cult. We don't believe in that sort of nonsense. We cover facts. And what evil lurks in the depths of coronal holes is high-speed solar wind streams. So we've got some well-defined North Pole coronal holes here rotating in, shown there in green. And let's take a view here from the SDO. So here's the last 24 hours of SDO imagery in 211 angstroms. And indeed, we can expect that to be a fairly significant coronal hole high-speed stream from those well-defined systems there. Just moving into the Earth-directed zone now. Those may arrive a little bit later than NOAA expects. So maybe that won't arrive until midday on October 1st, but we'll see what happens. And let's move to sunspots. What evil lurks in the depths of overpaid YouTube channels? Grifting. Grifting is what evil lurks in the depths of overpaid YouTube channels. So here is your sunspots and your solar flare probability. It's not really all that high, although as 3107 approaches the southwestern limb, it does become more likely to produce flares. Also, this rising region up here in the northeast is looking a little bit high in propensity for flaring. So let's take a look at the SDO continuum imagery. There is your zoomed out view. Here is your zoomed in view. And those sunspots quite stable here over the past 24. A little bit of umbral growth at the front of this group. So that's increasing its likelihood of flaring a little bit there. And here's a colorized, the grayscale magnetogram. And it looks like those are some South Pole umbrae there growing in front of that main umbra. So a little bit more likely for flares there. Likelihood of coronal mass ejections now is very, very high. We'll get to that a little bit later in the video. And let's talk solar flares. Proton events are often associated with solar flares. Is one caused by the other? Or, well, the answer is we really don't know. But at the moment, the proton flux is flatlined. No exciting happenstances there. We did see a long duration high-level C-class flare happen earlier this morning. It was a C5.5. And here's some imagery from SDO in 131 angstroms. It looks like it came from this rising active region back here again, so we'll be watching that region, we'll be streaming it live all day today on the Twitch channel at twitch.tv/smashomash. Twitch.tv/smashomash. Install the mobile app for Twitch. It will actually alert you when we go live, unlike certain applications that you could download which barely function for other video hosting platforms, which will remain unnamed. So here's your star chart. Deneb is just setting there in the northwest. Mars is near the apex of its path across the ecliptic. Jupiter is setting in the west. That's the skies over Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania. It's in-the-sky.org. The yellow line is the ecliptic. The blue line is the galactic plane. And here's your solar system forecast. Keep in mind this imagery is not to scale. Jupiter and Saturn are very far away. They are outer planets, after all. Anyway, here's your 1 week forecast. We've got a crescent waxing moon. And in 1 week, we'll have a gibbous waxing moon. That'll be on October 6th. Here's some coronagraph imagery from George Mason University. We do see some CME activity happening there. Is it earthly directed? Well, it's hard to tell. I would have to say probably not, based on what we saw yesterday. And let's see if we have any imagery from today. Whoops, no imagery from today. So let's see if we can see anything else here. We're going to show you some bonus imagery here. Stereo A, unfortunately, only showing old data. So it's that's yesterday's imagery from Stereo A, but no activity on the earthly side here. So I don't suspect any of those CMEs were earthly directed. We've also got the coronal magnetic field potential field surface source lines here on the right. I just like to show that occasionally because it is awesome. So here's a zoomed out view of the Soho Lasco C2 and C3, also the SDO 304 angstroms. Great view of Venus there, a little bit oversaturated by the coronagraph. There certainly are some CMEs. Again, I think they are on the far side of the sun. Here's a zoomed in view. I don't believe those are earthly directed, but we may see some earthly directed ones coming soon. We'll show you why in a moment. Here's why. This is the Lermonth Ground-Based Solar Observatory in Australia. And all those dark regions there, those are solar filaments. So there are lots of them in the earthly facing portion of the sun. And some of those could be headed your way at any moment. Actually, here is indeed one looking like it just ejected. Right there. Does look like a CME just happened there. So let's see here. That is about 6-7 a.m. yesterday Universal Time. Not sure if that one collapsed. It might have collapsed as I see a brightening around it. See that brightening? So I don't know. I don't anticipate any CMEs, though, headed this way in the past, well, several days, actually. Anyway, continuing on, here's the GOES 16 SUVI imagery from the past about 2.5 hours. And this is what we typically stream on Twitch, twitch.tv/smashomash. So again, check that out. And thanks for leaving a comment, BMVR13. Holy cripes. Son of a beehive, Jesus, gond. Oh my god. So you can see some of this filament activity up here. Some instability looking like it's been going on in the past 24 hours here. So again, don't be surprised to see an earthly directed CME. That's the last 24 hours from SDO. It's the house favorite wavelength, 171 angstroms. So here come bonus features. We have some significant surface charging hazards here for satellites around places like Mexico and about to move into the Central Pacific Ocean. The GOES electron flux here quite low as a minor high-speed coronal hole wind stream continues. We can expect this to rise in the next day or two. And NOAA would tend to agree there. NOAA expecting a little increase in the electron flux. That's the forecast model. The green boxes are the forecast. The yellow diamonds are not lucky charms. Those are the observation. Here's the 1-year chart from Solon.info. And as we typically do see, a low electron flux during coronal hole high-speed streams. Next, the F ionosphere layer. It's located at about 300 kilometers of altitude. And we'll show the vibrational frequency in megahertz and the anomalygram. We show that daily on the channel also. It's from Australian Government Bureau of Meteorology. Yes, yes. As we zoom into the Earth, we show the space and the Earth from an unbiased perspective. If you want to join a cult, go view a different channel on YouTube. Have fun with that. Lots of nonsensical cult channels on YouTube paid way too much money to produce nonsense. Here is the anomalygram, and huge low-frequency anomalies happening there over northern South America, parts of the central Atlantic Ocean. Check it out. Right in there. That's anomaly in megahertz from a 30-day median. Wild swings there in the ionosphere as well. High to low frequency anomaly shifts happening in that area. Not really surprising that it is adjacent to the South Atlantic anomaly, which is right about here over the South American continent these days. So those are some interesting ionosphere anomalies for you there. Here's the latest image, 10 o'clock Universal Time ionogram, 10 o'clock Universal Time anomalygram. We'll also show the total electron content forecast. This is the free electrons in between your GPS satellite and your handset. Those free electrons can cause GPS errors. These are the most likely places for them, where you see the red blobs. They are most prevalent over the equator at noontime. We also show the total electron content forecast daily. Some anomalies there over the poles, actually. They are fairly minor. And we do see the most anomalies in the total electron content during coronal hole high-speed streams. Continuing on to our latest solar imagery, this is the high-res view of the closest star in colorized magnetogram and intensitygram. We show the refresh, so you know it is fresh. There's 3107. Sunspot 3107. So those sunspot regions there are more likely to produce large flares as they approach the limb. It's just a fact. Large solar flares much more likely at the limbs than on the center of the solar disk. And if you think that's caused by human consciousness, you are an imbecile. An imbecile. Human consciousness is not controlling the sun. That is one of the most idiotic theories ever heard on the internet. And thanks for the additional comments there, BMVR13. And it's time for one more feature here. This is yesterday plus today. In 3 wavelengths, 2 species of ionized iron and 1 species of ionized helium. As it's time to talk about places like Florida. Yes, Florida. The worst of it is behind you. Although there are still some heavy rains in the sort of the east central portion of the state. Let's do it. And by the way, thanks for tuning in to the Smash News Network, least busted name in news. We hope the southern part of Florida has not become an island. Whew. Considering the amount of rain that is actually still being received. Here are the surface winds of the eastern world. Here are the jet streams of the eastern world. Here are the jet streams of the Western world, the Americas, the New World, whatever you'd like to call it. Surface winds are looking like this. Here are the surface winds of the Central world. And last but not least, the jet streams. While we're here, let's take a quick look at Saharan dust. We haven't looked at it for a while, so let's take a quick look. And there's a particulate content, low amount of Saharan dust here. It's mainly constrained to just off the coast of Africa. Continuing on to look at the shortwave radiation map here for the Western world. Shout out to our viewers from all around the planet, such as Bruce in South America. We hope you're not consuming too much nonsense on YouTube. I know there's plenty of nonsense out there to consume. We hope it's not rotting your brain. Anyway, that's what's going on in terms of clouds and fog over this part of the planet. And here's your weather.gov map, and check out all the cold temperatures. Freeze warnings there in large portions of the northern part of the country there, the northeast. Seeing some freeze warnings and frost advisories there. Also, obviously, tropical storm and hurricane watches and warnings all over the southeast. No surprises there. If your county is lit, click your county on weather.gov. We can't cover all of that. It's too much info. So here's your temperature anomaly forecast based on the GFS model. This is the next 72 hours of temperature. It's shown in degrees Celsius. And you can see some rather wild swings of temperature happening there. Huge changes from cold to hot. North central part of the country quite hot. Most of the east quite cold over the next 72 hours. We'll also show the GFS model for pressure and precipitation. Looks like some snow coming to Wyoming there. A little bit of snow. I see some blue showing up. Also eastern Canada showing some blue. That is the pressure and precipitation forecast based on the GFS model for the next 72 hours. And we'll also show the total accumulated precipitation, considering that South Carolina is expecting to get about 5 inches of rain in large portions of the state. Also, another foot of rain forecasted here for parts of Florida. That's your 72-hour total accumulated precipitation forecast. It's showing precipitation totals in inches. And let's continue on. Here's the satellite imagery from windy.com. Windy.com, they've got a great mobile app if you want to check that out. Windy.com, it's free. Just like these videos. We produce them at massive personal risk and expense and get paid just this side of nothing to put them on YouTube. So make sure you press like, subscribe, share, etc. Tell your friends and foes about the channel. We don't talk any nonsense ever, except about how pathetic the censorship and promotion of fraud and propaganda is on the platform. So here is your NASA Goes lightning mapper. And how about a real-time lightning map? It looks like there's some lightning over places like Idaho. Maybe not. Heavy lightning there over the Mediterranean, though. Check it out. Yowzers. It's a stormy day over the central Mediterranean. Anyway, next time you hear thunder, maybe check this out, lightningmaps.org. It could save your you-know-what. Oh, indeed, there is some lightning there. It's actually in Montana. One errant lightning strike happening. Continuing on, here's your current state of affairs for the Doppler radar. And you can see heavy rains there still around Orlando, all the way up to southeast of Gainesville. The Palm Coast getting kaplastered here with heavy bands of rain that just continue to hang out. That low there largely moving to the north. Slowly things clearing out there over places like Palm Bay and Melbourne. Let's zoom out to the full 50 states view. For a brief moment, we will focus on the lower 48 after we show Alaska and Hawaii. There you go. There's the full 50-state view. Very wet in southern Alaska for the past couple of weeks. And let's pause for station identification. I'm your host, Dan, a.k.a. Smash-O-Mash, coming at you from the Smash News Network. Least busted name in news. Here's a shortwave radiation map showing clouds and fog for the lower 48. And here's water vapor. So you can see things a lot drier than they were yesterday at this time. And we do have some dry mass of air kind of pushing things in two directions. You've got some compressing the system a little bit like this, and then some moving it a little bit like this. Sort of two different inputs there of dry massive air. Remember, folks, atmospheric nitrogen is more massive than atmospheric water. And that is why at a given temperature and pressure, moist air is less massive than dry air. I know it seems strange. It's just a fact. Here's your recap. The U.S. Doppler radar map showing vertical motion of water droplets. .9 nanometer radiation, which is part of the infrared spectrum from the NASA GOES interactive weather satellite, and the water vapor map. It shows all the water vapor, not just that which is condensed onto clouds, and that should clear things up. We hope it does. Once again, thanks for tuning in, viewers. And may that solar wind be at your back. Opinions expressed in this video are not necessarily the opinions of Smash News Network, least busted name in news.